What's up everybody, and welcome back to another Friday staple video here on the channel where I look through a list of stocks that I like at first glance and present them to you guys to see if you guys think they could be a perfect fit for your portfolio. For anyone new to this series or this channel, welcome. My name is Troy, and here on my channel I don't try to scare anybody into making decisions one way or another, but instead I practice what I preach by buying high quality dividend stocks that outperform the market, have super low payout ratios, and high dividend growth rates.
Oh man, that's refreshing.
Other than getting to spend time with me and knowing that the weekend is here once these videos hit your feed, there is another cool thing about these lists.
Well, what is it?
All of the stocks in today's video are going to have an ex-dividend date of this coming week, which means if you go through this list and decide that any of these stocks are right for you and decide to buy them, you're going to be getting a dividend from those stocks sooner rather than later, which is always nice.
Yes, very nice. More than nice, brilliant.
So if anything I just said tickles your fancy, make sure you guys go ahead and click that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on what could be your next great stock. But now let's go ahead and jump into number 5 on this week's list, Morgan Stanley, stock ticker MS. And including today's video, I've now mentioned Morgan Stanley right here on the channel 4 times. And if you go all the way back to the very first time I spoke about it, on October 27th of 2023, Morgan Stanley is outperforming the S&P 500, so I want to show you the numbers behind this stock. Morgan Stanley is a quarterly payer in the financial sector, paying $3.70 per share per year, with a forward dividend yield of 3.06%. Morgan Stanley has been paying and growing its dividend for the last 11 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate of 25.7%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 22.69%, and a payout ratio of 47.13%. Now, at the time of recording, Morgan Stanley was trading just 0.32% off of their 52-week high. They have an ex-dividend date of October 31st and a payout date of November 15th. And looking here at this chart, you're going to be able to see the growth of this stock versus the S&P 500 while only reinvesting your dividends over a 10-year time frame. So Morgan Stanley would have turned that $10,000 into $47,313.50, which happens to be $10,648.83 more than the S&P 500. Coming in at number 4 on this week's list is AON with a creative stock ticker of AON. This is now the second time I've brought you guys this stock, and if you go back to the first time I mentioned it, which was earlier this year on April 26th, AON is outperforming the S&P 500, so let's go ahead and look at the numbers behind this one. AON is a quarterly payer in the financial sector, paying $2.72 per share per year, with a forward dividend yield of 0.76%. AON has been paying and growing its dividend for the last 13 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate of 9.97%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 8.96%, and a payout ratio of just 17.03%. Now, at the time of recording, AON was trading 1.52% off of its 52-week high. It has an ex-dividend date of November 1st with a payout date of November 15th. And looking at this chart, AON would have turned that $10,000 into $49,336.69, which outperformed the S&P 500 by $12,672.02. Next up is number 3 on this week's list, which is Casey's General Stores, stock ticker CASY. Today marks the 5th time I brought this stock to you guys here on the channel, and if you go all the way back to the first time I mentioned it, which was my birthday 2 years ago, Casey's General Store is outperforming the S&P 500, so let's go ahead and take a look at the stock. Casey's General Stores is a quarterly payer in the consumer staple sector, paying $2 per share per year, with a forward dividend yield of just 0.51%. Now, Casey's General Stores has just now hit dividend aristocrat status, paying and growing their dividend over the last 25 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate of 10.14%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 8.51%, and a payout ratio even lower than the last stock at just 12.41%. Now, at the time of recording, Casey's General Stores was trading 2.72% off of their 52-week high. They have an ex-dividend date of November 1st with a payout date of November 15th. And looking at this chart, that $10,000 investment into Casey's 10 years ago would have been turned into $54,994.24, which was $18,329.57 better than the S&P 500.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special message.
With that being said, we're already halfway through this week's video. If you guys didn't already, please leave a like on the video as it helps me continue to grow my channel. And at the end of the video, I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you guys think of this week's list, good or bad, in the comments down below. So talk to me down there. But now let's get to the rest of the list. Coming in at number 2 is a stock you might be familiar with if you have pets at your house, and that's Zoetis, stock ticker ZTS. I brought this stock to you guys right here on the channel 7 times already, and if you go all the way back to the first time I mentioned it back in January 13th of 2023, ZTS is underperforming the S&P 500 since then, but I really like this stock long term and I want to show you why. ZTS is a quarterly payer in the healthcare sector, paying $1.73 per share per year with a forward dividend yield of 0.89%. ZTS has been paying and growing this dividend over the last 12 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate of 20.72%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 22.02%, and a payout ratio of just 26.7%. Now, at the time of recording, Zoetis was trading 4.28% off of their 52-week high. They have a spooky ex-dividend date of October 31st with a payout date of December 3rd. And looking at this chart, that $10,000 investment into ZTS would have been turned into $58,574.24, which outperformed the S&P 500 by $21,909.57.
And now, the moment you've been waiting for.
Coming in at number 1 is probably my favorite stock in my personal portfolio, and that's Costco, stock ticker COST. As I said, I own this stock in my personal portfolio, and it is my best performer, but if you would have listened to me and bought this when I spoke about it the first time on October 21st of 2022, you would have been outperforming the S&P 500, which has had a great last 2 years, so let's look at the numbers behind this one. Costco is a quarterly payer in the consumer staple sector, paying $4.64 per share per year with a forward dividend yield of just 0.52%. Costco has been paying and growing their dividend over the last 20 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate of 13.53%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 12.32%, and a payout ratio of 26.02%. Now, at the time of recording, Costco was trading 3.71% off of their 52-week high, which is a big dip for Costco. They have an ex-dividend date of November 1st with a payout date of November 15th. And sadly, I haven't owned this one for 10 years yet, but my chart looks pretty similar to this. A $10,000 investment into Costco 10 years ago would have turned into $85,579.61, which outperforms the S&P 500 by $48,914.94. If you made it here to the end of the video, first I want to say thank you guys so much for watching, but if you guys are watching this after October 28th of 2024, which happens to be my birthday, you guys might want to consider subscribing to the channel.
Consider it your gift to me.
As I mentioned earlier in the video, all the stocks in today's video have an ex-dividend date of the week of October 28th. So if you guys are watching it late, you might have missed the ex-dividend date, which means you now need to wait 3 long months before your next dividend from these great companies. And we all know,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
as I said before, use that comment section down below to let me know what you guys thought of this week's list. And I know it's already too late to get the ex-dividend date for these stocks, but if you happen to miss last week's video, there's another great list of stocks there. Check it out right here. But until next time, see you.